Ebenezer in the world where grandmas get run over by reindeer.
I mean, maybe that would, be something that would, add an interesting bit of world building.
Okay, alright.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, I'm
Gonna do the actual intro now.
Okay, I'm calmed down. I'm sorry.
Happy holidays and welcome back to Keeping BZ. I'm B, also known as Brandon, joined by the Z in Keeping BZ, Zach. And we, as usual, are going to play a video game to show each other in a show and tell like format and discuss things casually in a podcast kind of way. And today I'm taking a look at Ebenezer and the Invisible World, released on Steam, PS5, PS4, I believe, Switch, and the Xbox systems. And Zach and I decided to take a look at this game because the concept immediately struck us as intriguing. This is a Metroidvania that uses a Christmas Carol as the framework for the story. So this acts as a sequel taking place afterwards, and it does a bit of world building showing us why exactly Ebenezer is put into this quest. So I'm going to start a new game just to show Zach what the big setup here is. So I don't know quite how long it is after Christmas Carol. I assume either a couple days or so because it's still Christmas time. No voice acting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would assume this is quite a low-budget game. Although the art is nice.
Oh yeah, when we get into the actual game itself, you'll see that the art's actually probably the highest praise I can give the game is the artwork.
I mean, I don't know. They don't look like they're that worse. I mean, that one guy's smiling.
Yeah. He was paid to smile.
You know,
Keep
yeah,
up company
probably.
morale. Yep, and you can find the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future throughout the game, and they're like in secret locations, and if you find them, they give you a little something special for your equipment. Yep. So, yeah, Casper's kind of going through the same kind of arc that Scrooge did, but we'll see how this turns out.
It turned out that that old man got hit by a reindeer just as he discovered. This is a lot more setup than I would have expected for the sequel to The Christmas Carol as a Metroidvania.
Yes, this has one of the things I really like about this game is that it actually really does do a lot of world building for the Christmas Carol universe. So, back we are. And now we have our setup. So yes, what truly caused Casper to turn on the good path he was shown of what his life could be, and decided he'll just continue to pursue the same thing? That this was only one possible outcome. And I appreciate the writing in this game that they do give Scrooge a fair bit of personality with the ways that he reacts to different spirits. Like, he's now obviously a kind man that really does care about and try to help everybody he can, but he also doesn't put up with BS. And here we are. This is Scrooge's manor. The dawn of a new age for London. Ominous. Yep, there are protests currently going on outside of the Malthus, like, factory. This is Fezziwig, who, if you know Christmas Carol lore, was Scrooge's former employer at the job he worked at before he started his own business. So, we got our Metroidvania map. There will be many places to explore as we get deeper into the adventure. And now we're getting into the town. And yes, we can just whack things with our cane, and like with Castlevania, we destroy lights, and they will sometimes give us money. Oh, who's this? Why, it's Tiny Tim. Ah, it is Christmas time again. Thank you for your kindness this year. You have truly changed, so this has to be, yeah, at least a year after the original story. Yeah, here's one of the major areas that I was like, oh, cool. This is a neat-looking game with all these layered pedestrians walking the streets of London. And you'll see, definitely, you explore not just London, but a variety of different locations in many times in, like, the corners of the city. Not but the surplus population. So yes, watch this. This old man has a backdash. Yeah, Scrooge just does like to bitch at the ghosts that like, why aren't you doing anything? Yep. We have summons. Which you have to use our spirit gauge to do that.
Would you say this is like the equivalent of Aria of Sorrow's Souls?
Well, an Aria of Sorrow, yeah, I guess it depended. No, sort of, but here they're all just like special attacks that use your special meter. It's not quite like an Aria of Sorrow where some of them would just do weird things like heal you or spin a bunch of spears around you or whatever. These are more, I think one of them does that in this game, but primarily it's a lot of, like just they do some big attack that helps you defeat enemies. The asylum. I'm sure we'll never go there.
Could you imagine if there was a video game that goes, hey, don't go that way, and then you actually just never go that way? That place is dangerous. Your character goes, okay, I'll avoid it, and then you just avoid it for the entire game.
Yeah, if a game's like unfinished, yeah, that can be the case. I'm going to show off our spirit summon here. There's just a quick sword slice. Oh, what does Fezziwig want now? Yep, we got our save rooms over here. This is the little sign just to let you know. You walk into it. And I kind of like the animation here. So it's a door to the spirit world, and you hit it, and you see Jacob Marley's face appear over the door.
Oh, that's cool.
So, by the way, Zach, every single ghost you fight throughout this game, no matter if it's just one of the random grunts or if it's a boss, they all have their own, like, history and story. So let's see if we got her yet. Yes, yeah. So for example, the lady throwing tomatoes. Lady Adeline grew up loving the stage and later became a theater critic for the local newspaper, the Pepperley Gazette. As a credential commentator, Adeline was ruthless with her criticism, failing to ever offer a kind word to thespians who worked so hard to produce a play for her to enjoy. In the afterlife, she continues to criticize the world around her and throws tomatoes at those she views as pastiche. And every single enemy you fight in the game has its own little backstory of basically why who they are or their unfinished business keeps them chained to the earth. And that's kind of the main thing the game does in terms of world building, is kind of going deeper into where where the spirits in Christmas Carol come from, the land of the dead and so forth. And it's a lot of side missions of you helping spirits find inner peace. So yes, he needs lights to guide this man that will have the papers necessary to publish a hit piece against the evil factory. So we can do that. That's a side mission. If we complete the side mission, that guy will join us as another ghost summon. And for the most part, that's what all the side missions give you. All the side missions, once you complete them, that ghost will then just become another one of your summons you can use for your magic meter. There we go. We got one of his lamps. So yes, Ghost Child wants our help. So yes, main story ghosts will either give you a summon, or they will usually do something that will then allow you to basically progress. Like, helping out the main story mission ghosts is how you get, like, you know, the equipment that will get you able to go to places you weren't previously able to go to, that sort of thing. So Zach, I've shown off a bit of this game. You know, it's got that nice art. The setup and story stuff is actually pretty intriguing. My problems with Ebenezer in the Invisible World are pretty much that, and you can probably be able to already tell this yourself, Zach, from what you've seen so far. This was, you know, like this developer's first game. And especially early on here, you might notice how very rudimentary the level design is.
Yeah, it does look very simple.
Like, especially the streets of London are just straight lines, which, you know, makes sense given the layout of a city, but it still feels a little simplistic. Obviously, things get way more detailed as we get into other areas of London, and the game gets harder over time. So yes, now we have our first traversal ability. Like, it's showing us a tutorial for being able to do this downward kick. Which the ghost kid, like, helps us do that kick. But ultimately what it just means is now there will be areas with these balloons we can use to jump to places we couldn't get to before.
Holy shit, did you see that old man do a dive kick?
Well, no, because the door was closed, so...
I was talking to Phoebe. Phoebe would have seen it.
Maybe, yeah, I suppose she did. But Marianne is just like, no, I didn't see that, so you're crazy. All right. He's officially one of us, allowing us to continue our quest. Yep, now we can just hop on balloons. And that's kind of the thing that I'm a little disappointed about in terms of the traversal abilities you get in Ebenezer and the Invisible World, is that they're, as you saw, Zach, since they're just like these balloons that float in the air, they feel, you know, context sensitive.
Yeah,
they feel situational.
Like, I feel like a double jump ability would have made much more sense.
There's a couple abilities we get later that are a little better at giving us the ability to, you know, like, make our own way and mess around with it and have fun, and not just a balloon that appears sometimes. The one thing I do appreciate about the balloons, at least, is that they have parts later on in the game where you have to, there will be a balloon you hop on, and then it'll disappear and show up somewhere else, and you have to kind of step, you know, like, step your way up it like this. Which, you know, a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, that's something you couldn't do with just a regular double jump ability.
So, I think I've gave a pretty good showing of what this game looks like beginning. So, I'm going to jump ahead a bit and load my save from later on in the story. Actually, wait a second. Do I have a save nearby? I think I do. I think there's one just up here. Ah! There we go. Yep, and healing items are basically just different Christmas food we find that enemies will sometimes drop or we'll find in treasure chests. So I got some red berries. So I'll just eat those again to get our health back up, like, slightly. Save there. So, let me see if I can get us back to where I was before. And now I will go to my current save to give you an idea of what this game looks like when you're a bit farther in. So I have what's called one of the spirit children that you get from finding the Christmas, the Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future. Christmas Present gave me this. Basically, she's a spirit called Courage. There's another one I got called Compassion, and that one just heals you. This one fights alongside you. She just basically just auto-aims and will just shoot, like, the closest enemy towards you. I have many more ghosts to choose from for my summons. And one new move I've gotten is a ghost lady that will help me move through, like, spiritual gates that blocked off some of the other areas in the game, so now I can do this. Currently, we are in the London Observatory. As you can see, that I have now considerably filled out the map. Still need to get to that factory. I assume that'll come later. Ah, yes, and I have a bunch of different canes now to use. You start out with your basic cane, but as the game goes on, you get a bunch of different canes you can switch between that all have their uses. You know, this one allows you to get more spirit from enemies, like regain your MP back. This one will shoot projectiles out of the cane, but with the disadvantage of it collecting less spirit from enemies. You got this one that's super long range and can hit multiple foes, but it has a lot of wind up. And the one I'm currently using is an axe that has a long swipe, but it does a lot of damage. And you know, that's the way they try to explain why all these weapons are super cool and powerful, is that, you know, they all come from the spirit realm. Now, if I remember right, our current objective here is to find a map of Casper's that was hidden here at the observatory. So I assume the new grappling hook ability I got at the, basically, I went to the graveyard and went underground into a tomb, and that's where I found that ability. So I assume there will be places to use my grappling hooks. That way I can find wherever this is. Unfortunately, like the balloons, Zach, the grappling hook is all context sensitive. You have to find grappling hook points to use it. And that's the thing. Like that's the unfortunate thing about this game is that level design is simple. Abilities don't feel super satisfying to use. And to me, the game is kind of held up by the art and the writing. And generally, like, as you get more ghosts and more weapons, the weapons and the ghosts can be fun to use. It's just your actual, like, Metroidvania abilities are kind of eh.
The game at least does seem, like, very playable and functional. Which, for a first game, I think is generally what you want to aim for.
Yeah, I hear it did have some issues on launch, but otherwise, it seems to have been. I mean, I'm playing it a couple years later, so they seem to have polished it up pretty well. I haven't had any glitches personally at any point while playing this.
Oh, years? I didn't know it was this old already. I thought it came out last year.
I'll have to recheck that, but I thought this was like a 2023 game at least. But maybe I'm wrong.
It might have been. I'm not the best at keeping track of time anymore.
Sure. Yep, here's our grappling hook. We had to help basically a mountaineer lady who had regret from all the people she took on adventuring expeditions that had some sort of accident. So she was like, hey, help somebody that's trapped in this place that I can't help now because I'm a ghost. And so I did, and she gave me her grappling hook abilities. I don't know what the hell this lizard thing is supposed to be. But I suffered a lot of deaths randomly to this thing because I kept underestimating how long its tongue is when it goes to attack you.
That dive kick you got from the boy, is that an attack at all, or is it purely just for the balloons?
It's an attack. You can use it to kind of bounce off of enemies. Let me use it here.
Okay.
Like that.
Doesn't look like it deals a whole lot of damage, though.
No, it does really shitty damage, so I've honestly never used it since I got it. However, you get things called heirlooms, which allow you to basically, they're like equipable items that give you different kinds of abilities. And one of them, I believe I got, does allow you to do more damage with the kick. Yeah, there it is. The bounce kick does more damage if I equip that one, but I just didn't really have a ton of use for it. Because, ultimately, I can just bounce off of those balloons when they come up, and I don't really need to bounce off of enemies. I can see how it would be useful in certain situations, but no, I've been getting tons of heirlooms by exploring secret areas, and this one that I've been using the most right now that I just paid a handsome sum for, basically, it buffs my damage for when I use my ghost attacks, like my summons, depending on how much money I've built up by collecting gold from enemies. So that's become very useful, especially when I'm taking on bosses and I can just sweep them because I have a ton of money built up. And you can also equip heirlooms that make the enemies more difficult, but also give you more gold from them. So, the two heirlooms kind of feed into each other. But I think, while I can definitely tell this is not, among the best Metroidvanias I've played for sure, the novelty of just what this game is, and it's designed decently enough that it has carried me through without many issues.
Yeah, this is a very interesting take on A Christmas Carol, just turning it into a Metroidvania. Like, when you first told me about it, it immediately intrigued me, because I'm like, what in the world? How would you do this? It also helps, like, the art looks very, very good. Like, I love these backgrounds. I really like the Spirit Axe weapon.
Yeah, it looks cool, and it's very satisfying to use. There is occasionally, if you try to, like, you know, tap the button too fast, there is a bit of input lag where it just won't recognize one of your button presses, but more often than not, there's never really been that big an issue with that kind of stuff in this game. All right, we need to go up to get to the next area. Ooh, look at that big telescope. I've been to, like, the London Observatory is, like, the second place you go to in the game once you clear London. So, all the enemies in here are fairly weak compared to my current stats. I didn't realize until later in the game, Zach, that there's actually these two shopkeepers you find in this other area that allow you to upgrade your max HP and max spirit MP. And so it took me a while to figure that out, and I had gotten deep into the game not being sure why I'm not able to upgrade any of those things. And then I finally did, and then I upgraded them a bunch, and now it's made things a little easier. Okay. Alright, I could take that up. Or does this go down? That goes down, okay.
Yeah, it looks like the map has icons for a health and mana upgrade room.
Yep, they are the whole way back over here in London. They're near where your shopkeeper is, which is also where the ghost train is, which I'll probably show off here in a second. Yeah, let me take the elevator back up.
Is the ghost train the fast travel, I'm guessing?
Yes. Yep, once you find a ghost train stop, that automatically adds it to your map, and that way, whenever you find another ghost train, you can warp back to any of those other places you've been. Okay, so that little shield, I couldn't figure out what these shields meant at first. Basically, if you're using a weapon that isn't a spirit weapon, it has no effect on these enemies. But if you use a spirit weapon, it'll cut through the shield and do damage to them. But there was no tutorial for that. I just kind of had to figure it out, which, you know, I kind of appreciate that sort of thing. All right. Yep. Better save quick and restore my health. So, Zach, you were making some references kind of pre-recording, kind of tying it into what we were doing before we were playing this game. But in a complete tone shift right before we started recording this video, Zach and I were watching the classic Cartoon Network movie beloved by all called Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, which I had never seen before because I was a kid that I mentioned in past PZs that I did not grow up with Cartoon Network. I was more of a Nickelodeon kid and a bit of a Disney Channel kid. So I never got to fully experience Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and now I have. And I mean, yeah, it's a pretty strange, kind of bad movie. But I also understand why some people love it in a kind of ironic way.
I can definitely get the ironic enjoyment from it, but me personally, it's just like I don't find it to be an awful film. Just it's just not very good, and so it was so overly pushed at the time as Cartoon Network's new own Christmas special, and as far as I'm aware, it just never really caught on, no matter how much they really wanted to make it a thing. And I don't know why they tried so hard to make it a thing.
But they re-aired it enough that it seems like people at least remember it, so I guess there's that, but not in a positive way.
I don't know, I hated that movie as a kid. I hated a lot of things as a kid, to be fair, but at least that one I was justified.
Alright. Maybe I can show off some of the other areas I've been. Yeah, I'll show off the asylum.
Do you have a favorite Christmas special?
That's a good question. Because, you know, you and I, growing up as kids, we were subjected to a few that a lot of kids are subjected to ad nauseum that are burned into our minds to the point where it's hard to say whether we truly love them or whether that's, rose-tinted glasses talking. But I've always had an affection for The Grinch. I just think that's, it's like barely 20 minutes, and it's just a nice, simple story that doesn't feel rushed or doesn't feel, too long. It kind of just is what it is. It's a nice, simple story, and it didn't need to be made into multiple different, near 2-hour-long adaptations. It is what it is.
Yeah, I didn't like the Jim Carrey version growing up. Although a lot of people really seem to have nostalgia for that movie. I have not seen the Illumination one. I never will. If, unless Brandon points a gun at me and says, Zach, we're watching the fucking Benedict Cumberbatch Illumination Grinch movie.
Well, as I mentioned in our Grinch episode, I watched that movie for about 15 minutes and then shut it off when a rap version of the Grinch theme played, which just felt really like that. Rap remixes in and of themselves aren't the problem. It's just that I thought that remix was bad, and I thought that it contrasted very poorly with how incredibly white that movie felt. Okay. Right. Okay, well, I can show off these mirrors. So, I helped these two little girls with their side mission involving saving a group of kids. So now they allow me to travel through mirrors like every other power-up in the game. Zach, it is context-sensitive. But, visually, you're not just warping from one place to another. You're warping into a spirit realm that takes you from one place to the other.
Oh, this background looks gorgeous. This immediately gives me Epic Mickey vibes.
The color choices, I can definitely see Epic Mickey. Epic Mickey loves its purples and its blacks.
Oh, I was more thinking of having to travel through the film reels to go from one location to another.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But, if I had to choose a favorite Christmas special, I don't know if I could choose one. Like, there's definitely some I like. I also enjoyed the Grinch. I would say a recent favorite of mine is Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. That one's a collection of Disney character-centric holiday stories, and I think all of them are very, very charming. Like, I don't think there's a bad one in that one. Muppets Christmas Carol, I also think is really, really good. I haven't seen that movie in quite some time, but I loved it growing up.
I finally need to see that movie the whole way through because I've only seen clips of it. But every single time I see bits of Muppet Christmas Carol, I'm always impressed by it because I expect it to be more of a tongue-in-cheek telling of the story, when in actuality, it takes its telling of Christmas Carol completely seriously and is often called by many one of the best adaptations of that story. And the clips I've seen already, it's not hard to see why.
Yeah, the actor of Scrooge actually went out of his way to play Scrooge as straight-faced as possible.
Yep, that would be good old Michael Caine, Zach, who's a very acclaimed actor that's been in many, many movies over the years. I mainly know him as playing Alfred in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies like The Dark Knight.
There was one Christmas special I really used to like as a kid, and then I grew up and started liking it less, but I don't remember what it was. Like, man, like, as the years go on, my memory is just, like, I've never had a good memory, but it's just... There's definitely a Christmas special that I would watch every year, but I haven't seen it in, like, the past decade or so. But there was one I used to really love growing up. I'm trying to remember it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other Christmas specials I've seen that really stuck out to me. You know, because I'd love to see the Muppet stuff, but this isn't a Christmas special. It's a Christmas movie that I have a lot of affection for, which I don't think I've shown you this one, Zach. It was called Deus Ex Noel.
I don't even think I've heard of that one.
Deus Ex Noel is a early 2000s Christmas film that takes place during the First World War and is about a real thing that happened on the battlefield where during Christmas Eve, during one of the years of the war, the Americans and the Germans called the French and, American armies and all that called a ceasefire with the German troops, and they actually celebrated Christmas together between the two armies. And so it's one of those stories where once Christmas begins to end and they're reported by their commanders to go back to killing each other, they don't want to do it. And it's a really compelling movie. I have it on DVD somewhere, so maybe I'll bring that over at some point just to show it off.
I'm sure I must have seen them, but I really don't remember anything about those old school stop motion Christmas movies.
Oh, I remember those very distinctly. Like, I am unfortunately cursed with so much knowledge of Rudolph's Shiny New Year. Where he travels through time and space and fights against an evil buzzard whose name is Eon because he lives forever. And he has to save the New Year's baby who has run away from the New Year's facility because he has big ears and people make fun of him for having big ears. And Rudolph, is like, well, I know what it's like to be made fun of for a part of your body, so I'm going to go save him. And it's a strange Wizard of Oz type journey where he goes to a bunch of islands that are based on different time periods, and he meets all these different characters like Benjamin Franklin and a knight in shining armor and a caveman, and they all join together. And they're not like called Benjamin Franklin, or they're not called by the names of the people they're based on. They're called by the year of the island that they come from based on the time period. So like their names are numbers. It's a very surreal movie. Like, you can tell it's basically trying to be it's really trying to be like an ambitious follow-up to the already classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer claymation movie that it's a sequel to. But it's so bizarre. Okay, where do we want to head next?
If you are wondering, we are nearly 45 minutes in.
Okay, so we'll probably stop soon here. I've just been kind of randomly exploring just to kind of show off the different environments in the game. Yeah, I'll show off the necropolis just to show the other place I've been that's unique. This old train station, fast travel service feeling very Hollow Knight.
Are you gonna play Silk Song, Brandon?
Well, I played not even all that far into Hollow Knight, and I was enjoying it. I just kind of fell off of it because tons of other new games have come out. But maybe I'd try Silk Song one day.
Because Hollow Knight is also kind of a Metroidvania, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, Hollow Knight is one of the most beloved Metroidvanias of all time. I know many people that consider Hollow Knight like their favorite video game ever. And I mean, I think it's a great looking game, and it definitely controls better and is better designed as a Metroidvania than this game. This game's a lot more simple, and it's a lot more, like I said, context sensitive. Hollow Knight's also much, much, much harder. Hollow Knight has like Dark Souls level difficulty. So I kind of was also falling off of the game for that reason, where I would lose to a boss and then have to backtrack my way the whole way to get back there. Whereas in Ebenezer in the Invisible World, bosses are usually right next to the save point. There we go. But yeah, this is what the game looks like when you're actually getting later into it, and the level design is a little more complex, where it feels a lot more satisfying just to link your moves together and traverse. Oh, pro tip with those exploding enemies, if you equip the heirloom that makes enemies tougher but also gives you more money, it means that you'll get money for hitting one of those exploding enemies, and then you'll also get even more money after they detonate. Though it's not exactly easy to farm in this game, because once you defeat an enemy, they don't tend to respawn until you've either left that part of the map or went to a save room.
I'm trying to think about all the Metroidvanias I've played, and I haven't really played that many. I've played in... I didn't get the true ending, but I did play through Symphony of the Night. I really, really love Bloodstained. Ritual of the something.
You're thinking of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Yeah. I really enjoy that one.
Yep, which its sequel has finally gotten like an announcement in a trailer, so it's slowly on its way.
And honestly, what's the name of that one? SpongeBob SquarePants? That has a Metroidvania, and that one's actually pretty good. I think that one's underrated.
You're talking about SpongeBob the Yellow Avenger?
Yes, the Yellow Avenger.
Yep, I have the DS cartridge of that sitting right next to me. It also got a PSP version. Yeah, SpongeBob the Yellow Avenger is one of the more underrated SpongeBob games that does deserve more attention. Zach and I would both recommend finding a copy of that game, or playing it through other means. It's not like it's going to get a re-release anytime soon, or a remaster.
I mean, I think we used to say that about Battle for Bikini Bottom.
We'll see, but considering that is a handheld game, I mean, who knows? I doubt SpongeBob the Yellow Avenger is going to get the same kind of love as, like, the Castlevania collections that have been coming out, combining the GBA and DS games.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It would be really, really hard to just sell that as a standalone game, even if they did, like, make it all HD and stuff.
Right.
You couldn't sell that for $80.
No, God, no.
Nintendo would try, though. If Nintendo wasn't the one in charge, they'd be like, nah, this SpongeBob game is worth $80.
Well, if it was published or developed by them, they would just happily slap a $90 price tag onto it if they thought they could, because, ooh, the value, look at it, there's so many games. Like, I did feel a little weird paying, like, $70 to $80 for a Switch copy of the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection, but that's also, 6 games.
Yeah, that's at least 6 lengthy RPGs.
Yeah, especially when you get into like 4 to 6. Those 3 are super lengthy.
Now, should they be $70? You be the judge of that. We all determine the value of things. Are you willing to pay $20,000 for cardboard of an original Magic the Gathering card? You know, that's
with
up,
all
that's
these
up to
holiday
you.
sales going on, it's hard to not do that.
Yeah, I haven't like heard much, but I heard Black Friday this year was considered like just shitty.
How do you mean? Just like in terms of the prices of it, like in terms of the deals, or in terms of just how nightmarish the crowds were?
More just like the deals, because I think people like, this is more anecdotal. I don't know if I've seen like any like hard data. I think from hard data, this is one of the more oh my god, what's the word? Like the more positive income Black Fridays, but I think that's just because the prices there used to be massive price drops for Black Friday, but apparently that didn't really happen this year. But I'm just going based on what I've heard from the internet.
Yeah, like I saw some on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but nothing that actually inspired me to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna really pay that to get this, because it's still too expensive in an era where everything is expensive. That's why we need good guy capitalists like Ebenezer Scrooge to help us out. So you think you're ready to close off here, Zach? I assume we're probably near an hour.
Yep, 52 minutes.
I think it's a pretty good place to close off. Yeah, I just wanted to show off some of the different environments and enemy types throughout Ebenezer and the Invisible World. It's a lovely, simple little RPG, Metroidvania that I can recommend to most people. It's not great. You know, you're definitely going to see some flaws as you get in terms of just the simplicity of some of the design. Bosses are also pretty easy too once you can figure out their patterns. Once you can, dodge around them. The last boss I did that was in this cemetery area was probably the first boss where I really did feel a bit of challenge because of how narrow its attacks, like how narrow you have to dodge through its attacks. But overall, it's a pretty relaxing Metroidvania, and I can pretty easily recommend it. If you think the concept of a Christmas Carol Metroidvania is intriguing, it works more than it doesn't. Is there better Metroidvanias out there? Oh, plenty. But hey, if you can get into this, maybe it'll be worth your while. And that all said, that's another edition of Keeping BZ. Thanks for joining me, Zach, and happy holidays, everybody, and maybe we'll see you before the end of the year, and if not, Happy New Year as well.
Grandma's gonna sue the pants off a Santa.